Hello people, welcome to my video. I wanted to come on here and talk about the problems with rentals for elderly people and even for other people, even young people, all across the nation, not in one area. But I do want to tell you what happened to me. I went earlier and I got to talk with a man. I sat down there and he was telling me how that, and he's a very wealthy man, that he gives a lot of money to different churches. Boy, he would like this, telling me, sanctimonious, how righteous he is, and told me, that he's got everything, he's wealthy, and he's well taken care of. And he said, I own all these properties. And he said, I noticed that on your channel you talk about how elderly people and young people nowadays are being cheated with rental. And he said, I'm going to tell you something. He said, I've got all these rental properties. He said, now you tell me why. Give me one reason that I should take one nickel less than what my property's worth. And I said, well, let me tell you something right quick. He said, okay. I said, in Florida, you remember when those hurricanes came through and all the people were on the highways desperately trying to escape? They had been ordered to evacuate. He said, yeah. I said, do you remember all them stations that actually charged them $30-something a gallon for gasoline? They price gouged them. And now, our governor, he invited the people from California, from New York, and other states to come to Texas. So what did the retail lobbyists, we elect our politicians to the legislature in Texas. Well, you've got what they call themselves lobbyists, special interest groups. They're for the benefits of the citizens. No, they're not. They're bribers. They've got piles of cash. And they go into our legislature and they bribe them and they push them through, and they told them, hey, people from California, New York's coming here. They're used to paying over $3,500 a month for rent for a little bitty, tiny apartment. Their homes and houses cost, some of them, over $1 million a piece. So let us raise all the property values in Texas and across the nation. Well, they did it. Well, now elderly people are living in parking lots. They're living in storage buildings, and people don't care. And this man sat there telling me, now you tell me why I should charge one nickel less than what I do of what it's worth. I said, that's between you and God, sir. But I said, let me tell you something. The lobbyists raised the price of real estate up. And all these other people are going to rush in with these lobbyists. I said, are you familiar with the Sanhedrin of ancient Israel when they had the temples? And they had the sellers of animals come inside the building and sell their animals and things. Well, something about it. I heard, I knew something about it. It's okay. I said, now, poor people could only get like a turtle dove. Well, they raised the price up and said, oh, these are quality birds and quality animals. You got to pay us more. The evil priests, the Sanhedrin that ran it, they jacked the prices up. Poor people couldn't even give an offering unto God because of what they did. Yeah, I said, do you remember what Jesus did? He said, well, no. Well, what are you talking about? I said, okay, Jesus came into the temple with cords of rope, and he beat people, and he threw them out the front door. He turned their tables over, threw their money everywhere, and told them, it is written, my house is a house of prayer. And you've turned it into a den of thieves. I said, okay, sir, if you want to sit behind your desk and tell me that you're justified in charging what everybody else is charging for, you're going to line yourself up with all these con artists and scammers that are taking advantage of elderly people, young adults that are trying to make it. trying to keep jobs, and they're passed over by minorities, given the position before they do, because the Democrats gave minorities rights back in 1964 after they murdered our president. And ever since then, blacks have stepped in front of whites, and whites have been discriminated against and shoved out of the way. So now you got people all over America, and they're waking up and realizing who their friends are and who their enemies are in our nation. And I said, sir, I'm just going to tell you, it's between you and God. Hit the like button, subscribe, and Grandpa Hickory. You know, he didn't like that at all. He didn't like that at all. But friends, I told him the truth. And let me tell you something about 2025 nowadays with people. They don't want to hear the truth. He was telling me, he said, well, I check everybody for credit, and I make sure whoever can pay the most for my place, I let them rent it. Well, if you want to scam your fellow man and all that, I'm going to leave that between you and God to settle, sir. And I got up promptly. I shoved my chair back in. I said, good day, and walked out the door, and I ain't going back. Hit the like button, subscribe. See you on the next video. It's a shame what they're doing to the young people of America and to the senior citizens of America, to all citizens of the United States. Jacking prices up so high that they're driving widows out of their home. They're bad people. They don't pay their taxes. They're bad. And then they take it, the Democrat judge and Democrat tax assessor, Democrat tax collector, and the Democrat district attorneys hiding behind. Now all of a sudden they've changed parties and they say they're Republicans. They're not. They're not. They're rhinos, they're liars, and they're thieves. And they steal properties from widows, and they feel like they're all right. And let me tell you something, when God strikes them down from one end of their body to the other with cancer, with heart attacks, there ain't going to be no coming back. People, God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he reap. Our young people of America need help right now. Our elderly people, senior citizens, need help right now. And if you've got rental properties, hey, I'm glad for you. And that's between you and God. But if you're going to jack your prices up and run with the crowd, like all them other stations did in Florida, and you know what Governor DeSantis did? He sued the socks off them people. And that's what needs to be done now. To all rentals and managers in the United States of America that have price gouged the American citizens. We believe in America. Make America great again. You don't like it? Well, move to Russia or Cuba or go to Venezuela. Maduro would love to have you in his army. Then you can get blown up by American bombs. People, it is a shame what people do in the name of a prophet. I'm 74 years old. And you know, I look around and I think, my God, I mean, what's the use, friends? Listen, everybody I know has died in their 50s. I worked at LTV Aerospace and Defense. I worked at Loral. I worked at Lockheed Martin. 35 years. I was with the Department of Defense. I had secret clearances. And let me tell you something. All those thousands of people that used to be all in those companies, they died in their 50s. The oldest one that I know of was 58 years of age. People, I'm going to tell you something. We don't have time. We do not have tomorrow. And if you got property and everything, hey, I'm glad for you. Don't get mad at me. I'm telling you the truth. I'm trying to educate you and show you young people in America and around the world, they need help. You got help when you were younger. You forget what God has done for you? No, you done it all yourself. I done it all myself. You know what I had a man tell me? He looked over at me and he said, I'm going to tell you something, Grandpa. He said, you're 74 years old. I said, yes, sir. He said, you don't have savings and all this stuff, and you don't have property. No, he said, well, that's on you. That shows me that you were a scoundrel. I said, what do you mean? He said, then you wasted all your money. And I said, as I stood up to leave, and I said, sir, is there anything else you want to insult me with? But before I leave, I want to tell you something. When my wife died, she had over $2.4 million in doctor bills. My life savings and everything was taken out to pay my wife's doctor bills. I loved my wife, and I did everything I could do to help her. And then they came after me. When I sold my house, they tried to take half of the house away from me. When I retired, they came after half of my 401k. Every time I turned around, I got calls on the phone, bill collectors at the hospitals wanting money. Well, it's been it'll be 8 years this month. And the statute of limitations is over with, and they can no longer harass me. But you know what bothers me? I work with a lot of black people in the defense industry. They couldn't even spell their own name. And when their wife got sick, everything was paid. And when they left the hospital with several $1 million in bills, charity paid for their hospital bills. But they didn't pay a penny for me. They came after me and made my life miserable, friends. But it's all over now. God has delivered me from that. But I'm going to tell you something. Our young people in America need help. Our senior citizens need help. And if you're going to harden your heart like the Sanhedrin did, we're going to charge more animals, fees. We're going to charge more money for turtle doves. They want to sacrifice to God. Well, then they're going to pay more money. And like that man looked over me, he said, if people want to rent an apartment, they're going to pay me. Hey, man, my property value's been raised way up, and I'm going to charge every penny of it in rent. And you know what? I'm going to have them bid on it. And whoever's got the largest amount of money, I'm going to let them have it. My only reply, and it still is, that is between you and God. See you on the next video. Goodbye from Texas.